Welcome to Joy of the Hang. I'm your host, Sharon Stevenson. Today, we're exploring the intersection of faith, fitness, and the deeply human desire to feel whole, body, mind, and spirit. My guest, Jim Foubister, is a pastor turned personal trainer whose life's work has always centered around helping people become the strongest, healthiest, and most aligned versions of themselves. After decades of guiding people spiritually, Jim realized that transformation doesn't end at the pew. It continues in how we move, breathe, nourish, and honor our bodies. Now he empowers clients to build resilience, restore energy, and reconnect with the purpose and presence within them. His approach isn't just reps and routines. It's about shifting from the inside out. Today, we'll talk about the journey from pulpit to personal training, the healing power of wellness, and what it really means to strengthen the body without losing sight of the soul. Welcome, Jim.
Nice to meet you, Sharon.
Nice to meet you. So tell me a little bit about your personal training journey. How did you get involved in personal fitness to start with?
I was always really passionate about fitness, and I was like a competitive wrestler, MMA fighter, and got really into working out. It kind of became my life. It was like 3 times a day workouts, counting every calorie, and I know something in myself and my peers where it became a little obsessive, and it became kind of a burden of your life rather than something that makes you and helps you live a better life. And that's when I kind of started to cultivate a different perspective to put fitness in its place so that it all works for you instead of against you. And that's what I started when I developed a program. I started reaching out to people to try it, and it became a really empowering part of their lives to help them not just achieve their fitness goals, but to develop a better relationship with food and to make fitness something that's more like brushing your teeth, something that you do and you have a great plan that gets you to your goals that makes as little impact on your life as possible.
So you just said something. How would fitness work against you?
I think fitness works against you when it takes away time from your family, time from your other interests and hobbies. I always tell my clients life is about everything outside of the gym. It is not about the gym. The gym is just a place where you go and do efficient work. So I do a lot of hypertrophy training with my clients. That's all I train people in. And that's just getting the set volume we need to achieve our goals, pushing every rep to failure, and getting in and out of there. There's a little time in our week. So most clients, it's 4 to 6 hours total for the week and 2 to 3 sessions.
So let's go back to when did you start wrestling and MMA fighting? Let's go back there.
Yeah. Then Venice, I started as a freshman, which was pretty late into the game.
In college?
That was high school.
High school,
And
okay.
then wrestling seemed too terrifying to me. Everybody would drop out of college completely that I knew they got into college wrestling. It was very intense.
Okay.
So I just decided to kick people in the head instead. So
Wait, how tall are you?
6'2".
Okay, so Jim is 6'2", and he's a sturdy, strong guy. For those of you who can't see him. Wrestlers are all shapes and sizes, though, right? They're all different classes. Yeah, and MMA is you're kicking people in the head.
Yep, wrestling. It's a little bit of everything, and at different times. It's gotten to a wonderful point where it's its own martial art now, but used to go in and either be a wrestler or I had a Taekwondo background. So I got into kickboxing, and that was kind of, you just went in and hope for the best.
Well, we'll just touch on this because I know we want to focus on fitness. But so when did the pastor path come in for you?
That was in high school. I got really involved with the local food distribution ministry. So like homeless people would come and we'd feed them, or families that were struggling. We'd feed them. That was something that I really enjoyed doing. And I'd play like music with the band to try to raise everybody's spirits. And it was something where I felt like I wanted to just be a part of. And that was kind of a struggle because it's not many people want to hang out with like homeless people and hear all of their problems, because we got problems of our own, So it was just something that I really enjoyed participating in. Just like, I feel like if you cultivate compassion for others, it helps you take the focus off of yourself, because our lives tend to be incredibly self-centered, like us and our desires, and having a little bit of a third perspective and awareness of everybody else in the world and kind of your place in it can kind of help those frustrations seem as small as they are and can kind of dissipate. And something with my weight loss clients is trying to not just say, don't eat a cheeseburger, but kind of say, well, why do you want to eat a cheeseburger at midnight? Why do you want to have a bowl of ice cream every night before bed? Like, where is that coming from? And trying to turn hunger into an opportunity to put good things in our body rather than a never ending battle of willpower, which
Mm.
you'll eventually lose.
Okay, well, that's something we need to explore too. So I'm interested. This episode, first of all, will air right around the new year. So this is
Great.
great timing for
Yeah.
all of you who are making New Year's resolutions to lose weight. And many of us do. So talk to that person who might be listening that wants to make that resolution. What's the first step?
The first step is you have the desire and the motivation to take control of your life. And where the mistake's going to happen is to view it so episodically. Like, I have a goal of 10 pounds lose. I want to lose 10 pounds. A better goal would be to have a better relationship with food itself, because whatever stage of life you're in, that 10 pounds is going to come and it's going to go. But if you just challenge yourself on how you relate to food, where it's something that gives you a better life, gives you energy, can build a stronger, better body, and love the food that loves you back. So I encourage my clients to eat when they're hungry, sleep when they're tired, and that's asking a lot. So if you have a problem with food and you need to lose 20, 30, 40 pounds, and then you tell yourself, well, I'm going to take this away. It's kind of like asking a smoker to quit smoking
Right.
and just take their cigarettes away in a world filled with cigarettes. It's like
Right.
food is everywhere. And it's just about challenging yourself to put food in its appropriate place. So a meal is about who you have it with, not what you have. It's about, what do I need to have a better day, where the focus is beyond the meal and say, oh, I want to have time to take my dog for a walk around the park. I'm not that hungry in the morning. Maybe breakfast is snack size, like a grapefruit or some egg whites, something quick and easy. And then maybe you work all day. Maybe lunch is something you need to plan ahead for. And for me, I'm traveling around training people all day. So I just grab a protein shake, protein chips, and a protein bar. And that doesn't need refrigerated. I just kind of go around and eat when I'm hungry. I'm hungry, I'm going to eat this. And then dinner is, I love to cook. So I usually cook a nice, healthy dinner. My girlfriend, she's a bodybuilder. So it usually has to be pretty healthy.
Yeah.
So a lot of turkey and rice, or like okra and some fish. It's just something that we enjoy, and we enjoy each other's company over the food itself. So
So a lot of people will start this weight loss journey. And first of all, it sounds to me like you are not just a personal trainer. You also talk about nutrition and putting those two pieces together.
yes, that's where I could see the unity of the thing, because for our weight loss, the training isn't the tool. The diet, the restriction is the tool. And how do we get there? What I think is really interesting is you hear a lot of, in the fitness sphere, a million different opinions and a billion different opinions on different foods. And it all kind of boils down to meals that look relatively the same, regardless of whether you have this belief that you need to eat low carbs or low fat or 1,000 calorie restriction or whatnot. It all ends up kind of looking like a piece of grilled chicken, some rice, and some vegetables, or a piece of lean ground beef and some potatoes and some vegetables. It's all very, very similar in the end.
Yeah.
So I think, why don't we start there? And that's why I use the FIST method a lot. I don't know if you've talked about that on your show.
I haven't, but I know what it is. So why don't you
Yeah.
share that with our listeners?
It's basically a portion guideline
Yeah.
that's a 1 part lean meat, 1 part starchy vegetable, and 2 parts kind of green leafy vegetables or low net carb vegetables like asparagus, broccoli. So you eat in that proportion of your fists, which scales to every person. So fist size portion of lean meat, fist size portion of potato, fist size portion of broccoli, fist size portion of tomatoes or asparagus or something. And you just eat that shape. And that's where I love to start with people, because it's easier than counting calories, and counting calories can be difficult even for the most experienced weightlifter or bodybuilder or
Mhm.
whoever you are.
Or
We
macros or yeah, they're all hard to track.
that creates a life of weighing
Yeah.
everything, portioning everything out, and meals take twice as long to prepare, and they seem very inorganic in the sense where it seems like an unnatural way to eat. Where I feel like the FIST method is great on the go. You're not bringing your scale to the restaurant. You're just kind of like eating in that proportion, and it just tends to be a great starting place. That's my plan A for my weight
So
loss
start with
clients.
portion size.
Start with the FIST method and see how far that takes you. I have clients who have taken them to 50 pounds of weight loss, and that's the only thing we've done. So we've had one 45-minute coaching session. We say, let's try this until it doesn't work. And then lo and behold, they're 50 pounds into their journey using the same method. And we don't have to ramp it up to what the next step would be, the calorie counting, once the FIST method stops achieving our goals. And after that, it'd probably be a meal plan, which is I consider to push yourself past how lean your body really wants to be.
From what you've seen, what is the barrier to making sustainable change? For example, a lot of people will start January 1, they will head to the gym, they will start to eat right. By February 1, everything is falling apart and they're back to their old routines. What is the barrier for success and how can people create a sustainable diet plan?
That reminds me of a conversation I had with one of my clients a few weeks ago where he said, how much of this is psychological? And I said, 100% of it is psychological. This is, I think, having a perspective where you see your problem or the problem with food as being a short term goal is probably where you're going to end up in that yo yo dieting cycle where you try something that works for a little bit and then it doesn't. And I think that it's a great opportunity to take that motivation to add a perspective in your life that leads to the life you want to live. Because I think that's what's a good, if we look at successful parts of our lives, there was a time where we changed our perspective and changed our approach and tried something, tried several things, and something ended up working because it slipped into our lives pretty seamlessly, was sustainable, and had great results. So I think that I would encourage a lot of people to just be proud of yourself for having the motivation to try to change
Yeah.
and then taking those actions to examine your relationship to food and create some change in your life. And I think that's what the tools are.
And I think too, the challenge from what I've seen too is somebody will start January 1. Well, then they've got Valentine's Day on February
Mm-hmm.
14th. And now they're, I don't know your feelings around alcohol yet. We haven't
Mm.
gotten there, but then they're all of a sudden they're having some champagne with their partner and they're having a piece of chocolate cake for dessert and enjoying the holiday, right? And so I think that all of a sudden they're like, well, maybe I've lost all this weight in January, but now I'm back to where I was and I'm just going to, that cake tasted good and I'm going to just fall back into that routine, right? So there has to be that why. Like, are you okay with having that cheat meal and special occasion meal? Or like, what would you say to someone that has a wedding or someone that has a special occasion where they know there's going to be temptation?
I would be 100% okay with the special occasion meals because it's our goals and our sight are so far ahead. So if a good pace to lose weight is about a pound a week, and you go into those meals with the understanding that it's 3,500 calories are in a pound of fat. So if you aren't going to overshoot that by 3,500 calories, which would be a truly extreme indulgence, I think the villainy of the food, like the one glass of champagne with one slice of chocolate cake, is not going to make a big impact on your year. It might make a big impact on your day, but not your year.
Right.
And I don't think that your diet should forego all the wonderful things life has to offer, like the holiday season or like Valentine's Day or your anniversary or a birthday dinner or your friend's wedding. Like I would put zero amount of stress into worrying about those things because you have time. And that's what I try to encourage my weight loss clients with is the time that they have, that time frame. Because if you have uh, a week to lose 10 pounds, that's a recipe for disaster. If you say, I'm going to make some changes to my habits and I'm going to lose weight, and I'm going to add 10,000 steps a day. I'm going to add 3 hypertrophy training workouts a week. I'm going to add the FIST method to my strategy, and I'll see how far that takes me without breaking down psychologically. We have to empower ourselves to get this under control for the rest of our lives, because that's when the real benefits come. Losing 10 pounds when you're 25 isn't going to make a difference to you when you're 70 years old. Establishing habits that last your lifetime, that lead to an optimal body composition well into the later years in life, are going to give you a decade more mobility and like survivability than if you had just done this episodically. It made a drastic change for a short period of time.
So, Jim, what I'm hearing is eat the cake on Valentine's Day, just the next day, get back on track and get back into a healthy lifestyle. But
Absolutely.
Enjoy and don't beat yourself up. Enjoy those special occasions. It's not going to ruin the entire year.
Correct.
Okay, got that. Excellent. So, Jim, how often should we be going to the gym? And for how long should we be working out? And is that an independent by person question, or is this a uniform, what you would recommend for everybody?
I would say the guideline to take the journey from a beginner all the way through an intermediate weightlifter. So everybody that doesn't have their eye on the stage to be a bodybuilder, this is going to take you the whole way. A good guide to start with is 10 sets per week on body parts you want to maintain your muscle on, 20 sets per week on body parts that you want to grow. So you can look at your day, how you like to work out. Some people love to be in the gym every day. Some people don't. So if you are like me, where I would love to work out 2 to 3 times a week, that's my MO. And I do a full body program with lots of compound movements to target a lot of muscles. So I get a full set on my prime mover. I get half a set on my tertiary muscles in that movement. So my set volume gets really high in 2 workouts. And on the third workout, I can bump those target muscle groups into that growth paradigm with the 20 sets.
So if you're working 2 to 3 times per week, are you there for an hour, 2 hours? How long do you tend?
I say everybody's got an hour and a half amazing workout in them and working up to that point. And with my clients, I say, we got a great hour and a half workout and we give ourselves 2 hours to do it, because I do a lot of teaching, a lot of talking. If you look at your schedule and you say, I can't do that, but I can do an hour a day, maybe a little more frequently. If you like working with the trainer or not, I think working with the trainer is great at some level. Maybe it's once a week, maybe it's once a month, to check in, get your homework, get your program, and just see how we're doing. Because it's something that execution adds like maybe 10 to 20% at the higher levels, but can be everything when you're starting out. So it's just something great to keep in mind as you're looking at your week and how fitness fits into your life. I don't like the programs that have you up at 5:30 in the morning, running around doing whatever you need to do, completely disrupting what makes a great day for you. Because maybe you like to wake up and have a cup of coffee and walk the dog. And I tend to look at the cardio element and say, I use a step goal for most of my clients.
A step goal, okay.
So that's going to get us to our natural leanness level, like when your body starts to fight back, how lean you want to get. And that's when the Stairmaster is a beautiful and horrible device that will get you as lean as you could possibly imagine as you introduce it into a good basis for your diet and your nutrition and your fitness.
You like the Stairmaster better than the treadmill?
The Stairmaster is proven to be something that'll help someone who's gunning for, gold on the stage. If they want to get from 11% body fat down to 5% body fat, the Stairmaster is kind of an inevitable. And I have
a love-hate relationship with the Stairmaster.
Absolutely.
How long should it's kind of set for 20 minutes, but how long should you?
Yeah, you do it as much as you need to get the job done. If you have all the time in the world, then just walk your dog. if you have goals in that interim period and you want to push past that level, then you're looking at probably 30 minutes a day,
Yeah.
maybe even higher than that, depending on how hard your body's going to fight you to get to that optimal leanness.
So, a couple of questions. We talked about strength training. So, you're saying 2 to 3 times a week for strength training and every day for cardio, meaning 10,000 steps.
Absolutely.
And what's the science behind that 10,000 number? Why is it? I've always wondered, why is it 10,000 steps?
It seems to be kind of the most amount of activity that your body will not adapt to over time. So they did a great study where they compared indigenous people group that ran their food down. So they would run and hunt and catch their meals today, and they were getting about 25,000 steps in. And they compared it to the 8,000 step American counterparts. That would be a much easier life. And they found the men in both of those situations burned about 2,500 calories a day, and the women burned about 1,800 calories a day in both groups. So what happened is that we as a species grew up running our food down. And in order to survive, our body adapts to our exercise. And how that applies to us is the episodic version of cardio where we go and we add in a 3 mile run 3 times a week. Our body tends to adapt to that level of exercise and also compensate for the rest of the day. You go for 3 mile run in the morning, maybe you walk your dog a quarter mile instead of a mile later. You tend to compensate. You shake your leg a little less, you're less motivated to do the dishes, play frisbee with the kids. It's just something where I think that those are great things to do once you've established your fitness routine and gotten your baseline step habits in. Because I feel like steps also goes more with my teaching method of incorporating fitness into your life to occupy the least amount of bandwidth is something you can do pretty seamlessly.
Okay, so we're doing 10,000 steps every day. Is this to lose weight or are we now in maintenance phase? Are we in a weight loss?
This is where I will for all of my clients, whether we're building muscle, whether we're burning fat, whether we're just trying to maintain the 10,000 steps is a great basis because I believe even in a maintenance phase, it allows you to be consistent and add in a little more nutritious food or even a treat. I'm a cheeseburger guy. So if I have my 10,000 steps and that's a whole cheeseburger right there, instead
right.
of just sitting on my butt and not eating.
Yeah, right. Or eating the cheeseburger and then
And
you're putting the weight back on,
exactly.
right? Without the steps. Okay, so we have step one for our new year. We're going to eat meals fist size,
Yeah.
our food, right? We're going to make our portion sizes smaller. Fist of protein or a lean meat of some sort. What about if you're vegan?
If you're vegan, then I do not recommend the fist method. I would recommend probably staying away from a lot of the processed foods because I believe that that is another wonderful part of the fist method is there's no processed foods involved. So just cutting those out, you'll eat 30% less calories. I would look for my protein from more supplemental sources, kind of like higher doses of like pea protein or plant-based protein shakes along with your food because vegans used to be the healthiest, leanest people in the world until every company got wind of it and started making very high calorie and tasty vegan foods. And now that has kind of lost its merit. So if you're vegan, just go about your business and stay away from processed foods and just keep an eye on that protein because those are the people where we want to look at protein quality as well. Like a peanut protein is pretty low quality protein, scores about 60 out of 100 compared to like meat's 90 out of 100. So it's for bioavailability. So I would say for vegan people, just stay away from processed foods and you'll probably live a very lean and healthy, happy life.
Okay, so that's a big one. So no processed foods. So by processed foods, you pretty much mean anything in a box, anything with an ingredient you can't pronounce, that kind of thing. So we're talking whole foods,
Yep.
plant-based if possible, but you also believe in red meat, fish, chicken, all of the above, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so we've got fist size, whole foods, any of the above proteins, but no processed foods. So we have to eliminate that. Are we eating 3 times a day? How often are we eating?
The beautiful thing about the fifth method is you eat when you're hungry.
Just eat
So
when you're hungry.
if
Okay.
it's 3 times a day, 4 times a day, 5 times a day, you can have great weight loss and build that intuition and that intuitive connection between hunger and nutrition just by eating as needed. And if you can look me in the eye and say that you can eat 5 whole baked potatoes a day, I would just be in complete disbelief, because go ahead and try and eat a fist-sized portion of baked potato, fist-sized portion of grilled chicken, and 2 fist-sized portions of broccoli. How much are you going to be able to put away in a day? And what I love about the fist method is the tastiness factor. It is a 6 out of 10. You eat that food, it's okay. You get it down. We don't want to have a diet where every meal is a 10 out of 10 deliciousness, because we're going to be motivated to eat a lot more of it.
Right. That
We
makes
want
sense.
to use that natural, it's okay. A baked potato's fine. It's not a French fry. It's not mashed potatoes. It's a baked potato. It's kind of middle of the road. And that's exactly where we want to live. And when we go out and see our families or celebrate with our friends, we're going to have all the tools to enjoy something for what it is, a special occasion, a treat, things like that, not a part that's necessary in every meal.
So I like this. We're eating food more for fuel
Hmm.
than for, well, somewhat for pleasure, but more for fuel. You're thinking
Yes,
of your relationship with it, like you said earlier, is a little bit different. We're
absolutely.
thinking, how is it going to optimize our body working the best it can work, right? By
Absolutely.
giving it the correct fuel. So we're starting with, we've got our fist-sized food meals. We've got 10,000 steps a day, every day, 7 days
Every
a
day.
week, every day.
Absolutely.
And then we have gym 2 to 3 days a week, hour and a half or so, strength training. So do you believe in, or where should yoga, Pilates, all the other spin, Orange Theory, all of those other classes, where does that fit in?
They are once you have your base of fitness established, they're wonderful things to add in as you enjoy them.
Okay.
So some bodybuilders will add in Pilates for extra mobility, yoga maybe to stay centered. I think it's a beautiful spiritual practice that helps you just refocus yourself, and things are good. So all those are wonderful things. In my perspective, on the other line, when my clients are 20 hours into conversation with me, really drilling down into the questions, they get to my hard line. I am in the evidence-based training camp, we work out to exhaustion. We build muscle when we're doing this, and then we burn fat when we're doing that. So to me, the world's very black and white. And all these other wonderful things like cycling and rock climbing, they're a great way to get out and enjoy it. But I wouldn't, if you hate rock climbing, don't go rock climbing. If you hate Pilates, don't do Pilates.
Okay.
Find something you love and do that.
All right. So another question. I did bodybuilding too. I've been in 5 different shows. Thank you. I started my first one when I was 50. So you're never too late to start. But there was a lot of confusion, and it was difficult for me. It was difficult for me to build muscle. And I learned that a lot of people are using enhanced drugs to enhance muscle mass. So what is your thought on that? And so when I was in Maine, that's where I'm from, we're meeting for the first time. I did my first 4 shows in it was called the OCB division, and that was an all natural division. So there was no drugs allowed. And if you won, you were actually drug tested. We had to do a lie detector test before the shows. When I moved to Florida, I competed in NPC, and then learned that a lot of the women were using enhancement drugs.
Yes.
So that was my one and only show here, because I don't agree with that procedure. But the problem is you're standing on stage next to someone who does.
Yes.
Are you familiar with this? Like, what is your
Absolutely.
Okay,
Very
so
familiar with that. It is very frustrating for a natural competitor to go up on stage and to have someone who is potentially sacrificing years off their life doing dangerous drugs that'll alter their voice, alter their composition of their body for a plastic trophy. We're supposed to have fun with it. And
yeah.
my fitness goal for my clients is 2 things. One is to have a better relationship with food, and the other is to look in the mirror and be proud of the person staring back at you. And I think enhancements like steroids or whatever it is that they're doing that are potentially detrimental to your body, not necessarily that's giving you the success, kind of go against that philosophy. And I would recommend for people interested in the sport of bodybuilding to focus on like great organizations and maybe travel to those shows to do something where they're competing against other natural people.
Well, let's go back to the everyday person who's not competing in bodybuilding shows. So, what are your thoughts on Zempic and Trizepatide and all the new weight loss drugs that are coming out, Wegovy? So, do you use those as a tool in your? I think you mentioned before we started talking that you had a client who was maybe over 400 pounds. If he wanted to be put on a weight loss drug as a tool to help with his weight loss journey, how do you use that in personal training?
I would put that firmly in the plan B category.
Okay.
So I think plan A is let's see how far we can go, focusing on our mindset, focusing on building habits, because those are lifelong things that we have been doing since the beginning of weight loss. Like Ozempic hasn't always been around. So you don't necessarily need it. What I like and what I don't like about it is Ozempic's a great illustration on how people get out of shape in the first place, because you can put all of my weight loss clients, all people struggling with their weight, are on a scale of conscientiousness. So how conscious they are of what they're doing and the foods they're picking versus food drive. How much do you fantasize about food? How much do you eat when you sit down to eat? How hungry you are throughout the day? And if you get a good assessment of that without ever looking at the person, you could usually tell if they're going to be bigger or smaller.
That's okay.
So the conscientiousness we can work on through coaching, and the food drive might be a struggle for people. So if they really never get a handle on their food drive, and that's something that hamstrings them and delays them every step of the way, then I would say that Ozempic might be a great tool because it really stomps on that food drive for people. I understand there's a lot of side effects. Every weight loss drug that you could imagine will have side effects. But if what's at stake is being 100 or 200 pounds overweight versus the potential side effects of an Ozempic, and we've tried plan A, then I do think I appreciate that it's a tool in the toolbox to use as needed.
I like that you consider being more mindful and consider a little bit of mental health when you're talking about weight loss, because I just had a guest on last week that I was mentioning to you who lost 161 pounds. And she shared that food was not the cause, it was a symptom of a deeper problem,
Mm.
right? So she was using food to make herself feel better or to hide certain things. So are you able to address kind of the mental health part of what's going on behind the scenes? Because it's not often if someone gets to 400 pounds, over 300 pounds, it's not just because they're eating Chick-fil-A every day. I mean, she said she was eating 9,000 calories a day, which is not easy to do, right? But
Yeah,
that's when McDonald's was supersizing everything.
yeah,
You do that 3 or 4 times a day, right? It's
yeah.
not hard to get to 9,000 calories. So she really had to do a lot of work with therapy and other things to get the weight off. And it took her 15 months to get that weight off. Are you able to look at the whole person that way as you're training and not just say, what are you eating and how much are you working out?
Absolutely. That is what my goal is when I train with people. I'm not just training them and showing them what to work out. We talk the whole time. And for the first maybe like 5 or 6 sessions, we getting to know them and their habits. And I like asking questions like, well, what do you think was the food or the habit that got you in this situation in the first place?
Yeah.
And for one of my clients, it was a latte. They would go to Dutch Brothers and get 1,700 calorie latte once or twice a day. And if you do the math, if you do that twice a day for a year, that is over 100 pounds you can gain just by doing the latte. So if you just do the one 1,500 calorie latte a day for a year, it's about 100 pounds even of what you could potentially get. For some people, it's their work-life balance and they're constantly going out for fast food. For other people, it's portions. So they order a pizza because they want a pizza. Now they have an entire pizza, and who's going to want to eat that over the course of a week? They eat that half of it tonight, half of it for breakfast. It's all it can identify how they use food, whether they're conscious of the calories or not. It sounded like who you were speaking to was very conscious of what they were doing,
Yeah.
and maybe that was a little bit of a deeper level of self harm in what you're doing. Because a lot of times we just eat our feelings. We want to, if you want to feel differently, you can do something different. You can take something like food or drugs, or you can think differently about your problems. So that's kind of like in fitness, that's kind of how we go about it. You know, we do something, we exercise, we take something, we have a diet plan or a nutritional plan, but ultimately what's going to work the most is to feel differently. So we think and have our perspective changed when it comes to food itself.
I'm laughing because I have to share a personal story because a lot of times a life change can be can exasperate this. And so after I went through my divorce, my girlfriends would say, "Hey, are you seeing anybody?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm seeing two people every night. I'm in bed with Ben and Jerry."
Mm,
So it would be every
absolutely.
night on the weeks that I didn't have my children, I'd have a pint of Ben and Jerry's, and that would be my comfort food. That's who I spent my
Absolutely.
time with. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm dating Ben and Jerry." We have a really great relationship.
Sometimes, and that's why I say it's like kind of like if you're quitting smoking, you get the nicotine patch. Here's the nicotine patch equivalent to almost every snack food now. We
Yeah.
live in a day and age I would have dreamed about when I was, a younger man coming into fitness, because we have protein ice cream, there's
Yeah.
protein chips, there's all these wonderful snacks that I say to my clients when we have a plan, let's bend, not break. You want a candy bar? Find a protein bar you love. You want a bag of chips? Eat some protein chips. And I have my Ninja Cremini, and I think I've encouraged over 30 people have purchased this device. So
What is
it's
it?
like
Tell us what it is.
you basically make a protein shake, you
Uh-huh.
add a little scoop of Jello instant pudding mix, maybe some vanilla extract, throw it in the freezer, you slap it in the next day, and it whips it up into something very similar to ice cream. So
Ooh, that sounds good. A
that,
ninja cremini?
yeah, it's a
Like the
great tool.
mushroom cremini?
Exactly like that, but
Okay.
a different application of the word. I'd say they're
Oh,
cognates in that way.
all right. That's pretty cool. So how much protein should we be getting a day? I've heard of no, 1 per pound?
One, yeah,
Gram per pound.
that is a wonderful guideline that I think works for most people. And I would say you want to be a little more intuitive as you get going. So, am I still sore after I do my hypertrophy training for more than a day? When I get to my next workout, am I still like sore to the touch after 2 days? Then I would say your protein's a little low. I like to start people at 0.7 grams per pound of body weight, or if they're very overweight, or if you find yourself, um, a little, you might think that's a little too much protein. When you look at the number on the page, you can also do a gram per centimeter of height. So somewhere between those 2 points, you just want to eat enough protein so you're not sore too much
Okay,
the next day.
I just learned something because I have been so sore after my workouts
Hmm.
lately, and I'm not going heavy or anything. So, but I can barely stand up from a chair without my lower back hurting.
Okay.
So, and maybe it is protein.
I would very
I'm
much
probably not getting
recommend.
and water. I'm probably not. How much water should we be drinking a day? That's
Oh,
always. Do we have to drink the gallon?
I would say yes.
Okay, so we're still at that. That's been around for a long time. Drink a
Yeah.
gallon of water a day, and most of us aren't getting enough water,
Yeah. And I
right?
think well, that's a good point to kind of look at all of the new fitness information we have coming in at us. Some of my clients, they say they like to keep me around because I can filter all that information for them. But on top of me saying, but I've given you all of the tools and the knowledge to do it yourself. Nothing is going to be a drastic revolutionary change. It's not like if you eat a potato and then a pineapple and then you have your chicken, you're going to lose 100 pounds. It's slow incremental change. So diet, sleep, and exercise are going to be 95% of our results. So my clients come to me with some tertiary questions like, oh, what about, guava paste or green coffee beans or whatever? I said, well, we're talking about the 5% right now. Is this worth it to you to try to get a 5% extra effect on your program. And they think for a minute and they say, oh yeah, it's worth trying. Or no, it's $100 a month. I don't want to
Yeah.
do that for 5%. So if your diet is great and your fitness plan is great and you're sleeping a beautiful sound 8 hours a night, that's 95% of the situation, and everything is going to be successful. And there's millions of people out there that would love to sell you that extra 5%, whatever they can. I would say just keep that in mind. Maybe it's worth it for you psychologically more than that. So like pre-workout for a lot of young people is something that they feel is gets them into the gym and gets them working out. Wonderful. If it works for you in that way, I think it's worth it. But
The pre-workout BCAAs, is that what you're talking
yeah,
about?
some people just grab the most dangerous looking package of mysterious supplements, drink it before they go to work out, and they feel like an animal in the gym.
Yeah.
Great. Good for you. It takes a lot to go in and being an animal in the gym, and to do that just raw, it may be a few years of practice, but whatever gets you there.
Do you use intermittent fasting in your programs?
I think it's a great concept and tool and a fancy name for skipping breakfast. And I think better than intermittent fasting is looking at the eating window. That's a good concept. And starting that eating window when you're hungry. Because most of my clients, and myself in particular, I wake up and I want a cup of coffee. And then I go for a walk. And then I got a client. And I'm going to grab a grapefruit or a protein bar on the way out because I'm not hungry in the morning. And then I start my eating window a little later, and that gives me a little more grace room to have a little more luxurious dinner or maybe a snack later. But I'd say, as far as everything we know from intermittent fasting, that's probably the best application.
So I work out in the morning, most mornings, and should I be eating a breakfast of carbs or protein before I go to the gym? Or I'm like you, I have to have my coffee first thing when I wake up, black, no cream, no sugar, black coffee. But I'm often not hungry. But should I have something in my stomach anyway before I go do a workout?
For you in that instance, I would say no, because the important thing is to just not be hungry. So they've done a huge amount of studies and information. And when I was coming up, it was if you're not eating 60 grams of steel cut oats and waxy maize before your gym workout, why even bother?
Right.
If you have particularly long workouts and good, like you said, you have a bodybuilding background, what I would do is grab a Gatorade. I know everyone hates the dyes and the food dyes, but something in that higher sugar content. So when you're working out, you can drink that and maybe have a little bit more explosive energy when you're working out.
Or something with electrolytes, or is it the sugar?
It's the sugar. The sugar hits your
Okay.
bloodstream at 30 calories per minute versus a complex carbs 3 calories a minute. So you can really put some gasoline into your muscles when you're hitting those squats or those deadlifts or the bench press, whatever it is that you're focusing on. You can have a little more explosive power available to you rather than trying to time a complicated pre-protein, pre-workout, high protein or high carb meal.
So
it's just,
you're saying bring Gatorade to the gym in my case versus water.
you should be drinking a lot of water, and the Gatorade, I would work out. You don't have to be like a lot of bodybuilders today. They'll bring 2 protein shakes and a Gatorade and sip on a combination of them as they work out. I think just drink your water. And if you feel like, oh, I'm drained, have a little bit of Gatorade to kind of get you that quick sugar back up. And so you can go back to being a ferocious animal. Now, this isn't advice for everybody. This is advice I would give to someone who's intermediate to advanced.
Right.
And that's another great way to filter all the fitness information is, does this apply to me? So many people want to get information that's great for bodybuilders and say, I'm a bodybuilder. It's like, no, you're not. You started working out a year ago. It's like,
Right.
the information of, do you have this tenacity and this ability to exert your muscles in a way that truly exhausts your body and the glycogen stored within your muscle, and you're dying trying to keep up with your own workout? Those are the people I'm saying have some Gatorade in the middle of it. If you're just starting out, just drink some water, try to get that intensity up, try to get that tenacity in the gym in every set, pushing to failure, good full 2 second symmetrical rep, get that full range of motion, and it's a wonderful thing.
Okay, I really want to talk to that listener who is overweight. And okay, let's take a female, for example. I'll never forget the first time I walked into a gym. It's very intimidating. So let's talk to that mom that maybe hasn't been taking great care of herself. She's put on an extra 100 pounds or so. She wants to take it off, take better care of herself, but she doesn't want to go into a gym setting because she's so intimidated. So, how should she start? The woman that I interviewed last week said she just started with a video on her TV, went into YouTube, and started dancing for 30 minutes and just moving her body. Is that a good place for a lot of people to start that are feeling like I can't get myself in there yet, but I definitely want to take better care of myself?
Yes. I always say something is better than nothing. So when it comes to starting your journey and the gym is an intimidating and scary place, then just focus on your diet and your steps. If what you want to do is some cardio, they have like walking pads on Amazon for $90 if you have lots of kids around and can't get it out of the house. But eventually, and I would say within the 2 months. Give yourself 2 months to adjust to this new mindset where your desire to be in great shape and mobile for the rest of your life outweighs the anxiety of what you imagine the gym to be. Because you just need to give yourself time to grow. So some people, when they're quitting smoking, it's not cold turkey. It's like just like in fitness and smoking. In my analogy, this podcast is we'll take steps. And what I would be concerned about is telling someone that home workout is going to take them from A to Z. And I have to say, we want to, as we lose weight, hold on to the muscle we have. And when we have high enough body fat percentage, we can even build muscle as we lose weight. That's the privilege of the obese. It's not something an incredibly lean person can do. So we eventually need to get in the gym to hold on to that muscle as we're losing weight. Because losing muscle, depending on what stage of the game you're on, like if you're 65 or 70 years old and you say, I'm going to go on a crash diet, get my steps in gym, and I'm not going to go to the gym, I'd say it's better if you didn't, because losing muscle mass at those stages can make you immobile. They can be that atrophy that leads to a spiral of immobility. And that's what I would love to see people avoid and just make some peace with the gym. I built a gym in one of my clients' home for $2,000 worth of equipment, and they can have the best workouts of their life. It just, at some level, we're going to have that desire to hold on to our muscle outweigh the fear of strength training.
And muscle mass is so important as we age, but I do also wanna mention that when people are on Ozempic and other weight loss drugs, that also, reduces their muscle mass.
Huh.
So it's a big side effect of those weight loss drugs. So if you are on those drugs, you have to make sure you're doing strength training to keep that muscle mass,
Yeah,
right?
I
You've
would
heard the
say,
saying,
yeah, I
yeah,
would say strength
yeah,
training as soon as you can get yourself into it.
yeah,
And for people on Ozempic, if you're listening, is a temporary thing. That is
right.
not a lifetime thing. So there may be, it gives you a chance to get a hold of your life, get in control of yourself, and get control of your diet and your relationship to food while having that lower food drive.
Yeah.
Because that's all it does. We can raise our conscientiousness up and be consistently making healthier choices. And then our food drive, like with the FIST method, isn't as impactful. So it's just a temporary tool.
Well, and, I can understand why people wanna go towards that. I mean, what's our obesity rate in this country? Something like 70% of
Yeah,
people are considered obese, right?
I would agree with you.
I
Yeah.
think it's a big number. You also mentioned how important sleep is, and getting 8 hours is the optimal
S-
amount of
So
sleep we should be getting.
the studies that I've read and applied to the programs that I design show one interesting thing, and that's at that 7 hour mark, which is if you sleep below 7 hours, your body will target lean mass over fat when you're losing weight. When you sleep over 7 hours, so you're getting in that 8 hour range, your body will target fat over lean mass as we're losing weight. And I want to put give every advantage available to my clients to hold on to their muscle and build muscle while they're losing weight, because they're going to be much better off, because that can be a little bit of the experience of losing 10 pounds and looking in the mirror and not seeing any change, because what we're looking at is our body fat percentage. And when the fat goes down and the muscle goes down, you're not going to change that body fat percentage. It's just going to look the same. So that's where I consider myself dollars to donuts with my clients, a body composition coach. Like I coach your body fat percentage. And my methodology may be a little more holistic, as they might say, where I'm looking at your psychology, looking at how you approach food. But at the bottom line is, I want you to have more muscle and less fat.
So, one other thing my previous guest shared was that when she started to lose the weight, she also started to lose a lot of her friends. Have you also considered the social aspect of weight loss?
Absolutely, because our culture is completely oriented around drinking alcohol and eating food. And if that is the thing that my clients struggle with the most is cutting back on drinking alcohol, because we would go out, my friends would go out and have 10 drinks and tell me about it, but they would never go out and have 3 cheeseburgers. But that's the same impact calorically when you just calculate it all out. So one thing we need to
Interesting.
keep in mind is to be adults, take accountability for everything that goes in our body, and to be adults and not succumb to peer pressure when we're out. You can nurse a Mick Ultra in a water for a few hours if you're out with your friends, or you can order a salad when you go out with your friends. And also, if like the only way you interact with these people is when you're blackout drunk, maybe they're not good friends. Maybe we
Well,
should talk to people that we can enjoy the everything that life has to offer.
right.
And I do say, you know, be as social as you can be and socialize more with the people who respect your journey in the stage of life you're at, where you're going to be cutting out most of your alcohol and, those extra desserts at dinner.
Yeah, and on a deeper level, she found that a lot of the female friends that she had started noticing, because she was choosing to take better care of herself and starting to look better and carry herself more confidently, that they didn't want to be around her because they started thinking she thought she was better than them because they hadn't made that same choice. So that was an interesting, she goes, it surprised me the reaction I got from other people who wanted to continue eating the supersize and the cheeseburgers, that the reflection, right? So we're reflected by the people we hang around with, right? So that reflection was, here's this person who's choosing not to go to those places anymore. And she would say, I can't go to Wingstop, for example. I used to go get wings a lot. And she said, well, I can't go there because I'm not strong enough yet to not be tempted by the food, and I'll sit there and eat wings with you. So she would have to make choices that were in her best interest. And therefore, a lot of her friends who wanted to continue to go to the Wingstop or whatever, they stopped calling her. Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
So I
And
don't know if you've noticed that.
yeah, having a relationship based solely on wings, is it
Yeah.
a fact of life
There you
sometimes?
go.
I would hope that the relationships that are deeper than your vices are plentiful and you can focus on those, because it's
Yeah.
the same thing with people struggling with drug addiction. Say, man, I'm going to have to stop hanging around with all these drug dealers. Like,
Right.
absolutely. So I know that if you would put the energy and effort into to talk to the people, clarify your position, that there's lots of other things you guys could do. And if the relationship to them isn't more than eating wings with you, then
Yeah.
maybe that's not a good relationship.
It is often hard though, because I remember when I was doing the bodybuilding shows, I gave up alcohol completely and also wasn't, I gave up sugar, I gave up a lot of things. But anyway, I became very intentional and mindful about what I was eating and doing with my days. So during that time, I do remember, because I have a social group that they enjoy drinking and going out for happy hour and cocktails. I remember a lot of the, why aren't you drinking? Why can't you have a glass of champagne with us? I remember a lot of the judgment and the questions, and it was almost as though it made them uncomfortable. It didn't make me uncomfortable. I didn't mind getting a club soda instead of, because that was a commitment I had made to myself. So it wasn't making me uncomfortable, but it was definitely making a lot of people around me uncomfortable. Does that make sense?
I've experienced that as well. Like if you're in a contest prep, or like when I was cut weight for a fight, you're usually pretty irritable and nobody wants to be around you anyway.
No, I
So
wasn't
that problem
irritable.
solved. The other part is you're social. You might find different ways to socialize with people. Like
Yeah.
My girlfriend and I are coffee people. So instead of having a night out where we're, tearing up the town, drinking and doing whatever, we have a lovely morning with a cup of coffee and walk the dog around the park and say hi to everybody. And then I have a beautiful day ahead of me. And I think that's a different way to live your life.
Right. Do you
It's
mostly live a sober lifestyle?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
maybe drink maybe 4 times a year. I just don't. I am a very relaxed and chill person. So if I drink, I just go have one and I'm like, I need to go to bed. I'm gonna go take a nap. That's why I like coffee. It gets me a little up and I have a little more energy and it's easier to relate to me. So,
Yeah.
but most of the time I'm like moments away from a nap and it's a great way for me to live my life.
How do you feel about naps?
I love
Do you do a 20-minute power nap or
them.
is it?
You can take naps. So
I
I think,
love my naps.
yeah, if you have a hard time sleeping throughout the night, then planning to make up that sleep later on is a perfectly acceptable approach to your sleep. And I think that people really misunderstand how um, different people's sleep needs are and how difficult it can be for some people. Maybe they have small children, or maybe they have bad sleep compatibility with their partner and they get kicked out of bed in the middle of the night. A nap is a great thing to have a tool in your toolbox, having a great day.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. So, anything else that people should know about? We've got sleep, we've got portion size, we've got walking and strength training. We have maybe changing our social habits a little bit. Anything else?
My wish for people is that they don't give up on themselves. So
Okay.
I would say to the people who are making New Year's resolutions, that is a great excuse to try again. But no matter where you are in your life or when you're listening to this, always just look and believe in yourself that you can always be the best possible version of yourself. And it's not that far away. Even my clients that have to lose 200 pounds, they're only 2 to 3 years away from having their dream ideal body. It's not a super long journey. It can be a tough journey, but always use that motivation that you have in the moment to try to form a habit that becomes discipline later on. So that's what I would say is we have this ebb and flow of motivation. And motivation is where we all start, but it's gonna go away. It goes away with like bad comments from our friends when we're out and not
Mhm.
drinking, or it
Mhm.
comes from the temptation of our family when we're at Thanksgiving dinners, like, oh, you loved the pie with the eclair on top with the scoop of ice cream and the whipped cream. You eat that all the time. It's like, well, the motivation is a very fragile thing, but while we have it, we use it to form habits that become like brushing our teeth. It's just something we do. And that's where my desire is for everybody in their fitness journey. Fitness becomes a habit that you pay very little attention to. So your
Yeah.
mind can be focused on loving your family, enjoying your friends, accomplishing your dreams and your goals. Because fitness, at the end of the day, and the sad part about it, when people have invested so much time and money with me, is supposed to be a very small part of your life, very small.
Well, but I want to add to that two things. One, first of all, people invest in a lot of areas of their life, and the most important investment is their health.
Agreed.
Because without your health, you're not going to have retirement age to enjoy whatever money you put aside for travel or anything else. And you want to be healthy enough to go hiking or be active on your vacations and get up and down from a chair and up and down from the toilet seat, right? So there is no better investment than your health. Number two, I want to make it for all the women out there that do go back to being intimidated at the gym. What really helped me at the gym when I went in there, because it is overwhelming when you go in there and you see all the male weightlifters that know what they're doing and you don't know where to start, and you see all this equipment that's so foreign and you don't know what to do with it. It is very intimidating. So what I encourage you all to do is hire a trainer like Jim that can walk you through that. And also the best thing about hiring, which is what I did, by the way, I've had several trainers, and the best thing about that is they keep you on track. They keep you accountable. They're someone that has your best interest at heart, and they check in with you. And that is huge. And, again, people will hire a therapist for their mental health and spend a lot of money on that. To me, it's just another area for me to spend money that it's worth it to me because it's taking care of the most important asset I have, which is the one and only body that I'll ever have. So I am going to encourage, how would people get in touch with you if anybody wanted to work with you? Are you taking new clients?
In person, it's a little difficult at the moment. I have a
Yeah.
wonderful roster of people, but people's journeys come and go, the beginning and end. You can just go to jimfoubister.com and reach out to me that way. And at some level, I have a fitness app that I use for my clients, and I would invite people if they're interested in working with me for about $100 a month digitize their program and we can check in email
Yep.
and I can take on a lot more people that way. And
Okay.
that's what I would be interested in doing. I
Yeah.
love my clients, but I'm training people 7 days a week in this lovely sunny Sarasota, Florida. And it's the best life I could have imagined for myself because I get to participate in all these transformational journeys and share joy and build joy and give this gift of another 10 years to these wonderful people.
Yeah, and the way I like to use trainers too is sometimes I'll hire somebody and work with them one-on-one for maybe a month, so maybe 2 or 3 times, and then switch over to the virtual program because then at least I've got a familiarity if I don't know how to do a certain exercise that you've prescribed, then I can say, "All right, can you quickly show me?" And then I can go off on my own and do it because and to be honest with you, I don't know how you feel about this, but sometimes trainers will throw in these exercises that are a little bit advanced, and you really don't need to do these advanced moves. You can do some pretty simple bicep curls. You can do a few squats. You can do some lunges. I think you can
Yeah.
get a long way with the basics,
Yeah, when I'm
right?
training people in the gym, we see a lot of what I call like personal trainer bait because it's exercise you can't possibly do on your own.
It-
And it just seems like they make fitness sound so complicated that you could never imagine being without them. And I tell my clients at the beginning the opposite. I say, I'm going to teach you absolutely everything you need to know to get from point A to point B, the body you want. And the only reason why you're going to keep me around is because you like me. And that's how it's worked. And I've had a very impressive retention rate for long-term clients because we do enjoy our time together. And even though I've said ad nauseum everything they need to know, they choose to ignore me and pretend like they don't know what they need to do right now.
I know, but I love the phrase when I learned in college, keep it simple, stupid, the
Absolutely.
KISS. And that's how I apply it to fitness because just keep it simple and that will keep you motivated and keep you coming back.
Yeah.
Because I can't tell you some of the trainers that I've worked with, I've had to like YouTube some of the exercises they've asked me to do because I'm like, I have no idea what that means and what that is. And I've had to watch it. I'm like, oh, okay, that's just this, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, so it's pretty much you just want to make sure you're working out your chest, your back, your biceps, your triceps, help me out here,
Your
your
legs,
legs,
your
your
glutes,
hamstrings, your
hamstrings,
glutes,
quads, your calves, and special attention for the people out there.
shoulders.
Your medial delts aren't a prime mover in any movement except the lateral raise. So that's something that I harp on.
Yeah.
That and calves, we kind of have to take special attention to do on their own, where compound movements can kind of hit everything else. But what I'd say about like having a trainer is I feel like my biggest contribution outside of the program and outside of just the time spent there is just having someone to coach you
Yeah.
through any questions. It's almost like a sponsor, to when you are confused or demotivated. That's a wonderful aspect of the program is just to encourage people and just having someone there that's encouraging you to be the best possible version of yourself for the longest possible time, I think is a great thing to have on some level.
Well, and I say it this way, I'd rather pay a trainer to help me with my wellness than pay a doctor to deal with my illness.
Yeah.
Right? There's a quote we can use. Pay a trainer to take care of your wellness, or you will be paying a doctor to take care of your illness. That's
Very
how it
clever.
goes, right? All right. So speed round, we've got to wrap this up. Morning workout or sunset walk?
Sunset walk.
Okay. One food that you would never give up.
American cheese.
American cheese.
2% American cheese. Yeah.
Okay. Favorite scripture or quote to train to?
The tough one. Probably Romans 8:28. All things work for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose. Just like everything's going to work out.
Everything's going to work out. Amen. Do you have a gym mantra?
Probably the keep it simple stupid is a good one because I love simplicity.
Keep it simple.
Just I guess if you're gonna take my program philosophy, just 10 cents for maintenance, 20 cents for growth. If you get that out of this, you're gonna be doing great.
Excellent. And what brings you joy right now?
Oh, lots of things. Just being nice and warm in Sarasota.
In December,
Yeah.
when half the country is in snow.
It's just being this beautiful weather brings me a lot of joy.
Me too. Me too. Although I was just in Boston, that brought me a lot of joy too, but that's where my daughter is. Yeah. It's all about the people, not the place.
Absolutely. Home is where the heart is.
Exactly. So, Jim, thank you for sharing your heart, your story, and your wisdom with us today. Your journey is such a powerful reminder that transformation doesn't happen in one dimension. It's emotional, physical, spiritual, and deeply relational. You embody what it looks like to hang on, grow, and honor the whole self. To our listeners, your joyful act today. Pause for one intentional breath, ask your body what it needs. Then give it one small act of care, movement, nourishment, or rest. If you love this conversation, be sure to follow Joy of the Hang on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And share this episode with a friend who's on their own transformational journey. Thanks again, Jim, for being with us today.
Great to be sharing.
Thanks.